In 1967, New Hope Road wound through the vast, unpopulated stretches of McNairy County, Tennessee, a region dominated by rolling farmland and quiet solitude. This seemingly tranquil setting would soon become the backdrop for a tragic and chilling event: the murder of Pauline Pusser, a grim chapter in local history. Pauline was riding in a car driven by her husband, Sheriff Buford Pusser, when her life took a devastating turn. Under the veil of night, a hail of bullets struck the vehicle, tearing through its metal frame and windows of the car, and Pauline as well. However, emerging forensic evidence painted a far darker picture than what Buford had presented to investigators. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation uncovered disturbing details suggesting that Pauline was shot and killed outside the car before being placed inside it, as blood was found both on the exterior and interior of the vehicle. Despite Buford's claims about the circumstances surrounding his wife's death, forensic evidence indicated inconsistencies in his story, leading investigators to believe he was fabricating details to cover up the truth. The intrigue surrounding the murder only deepened with tales of the gun used in the crime, capturing the fascination of many. In this video, Mike will delve into the story of that weapon, exploring its history, significance, and the pivotal role it played in this haunting case. Here is Mike.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages. Today we are here to discuss the most sought-after piece of information thus far about the alleged ambush in which Pauline Pusser was killed, that being the gun. Now, I'll tell you up front, I can't be terribly candid about all of this because the individual that had the gun and wanted to inquire about it asked to remain anonymous, and of course he realizes that that story is going to be in the files and his name is going to appear there, but he wanted the extra time to prepare his family and his friends for what is about to come out. So I'm going to respect that because I gave him my word that his name would remain confidential until such a time. So we're there. But at any rate, as far as the gun goes, as best I can tell, the story really starts with O'Neill Moffett when he was in the Air Force. And as you know, they were getting rid of the M1s and updating to the M14 as a carry weapon for certain members of the Air Force. And when he was told that he was going to be working on a detail to pick up the M1s, they were going to be disposed of. So O'Neill thought he would help him out a little bit, and he'd dispose of a few himself by taking them back to McNairy County and selling them. Well, you know, O'Neill told me, he said, I thought they were going to be disposed of, so I didn't think it would hurt. But then, of course, he didn't realize that they would probably take an inventory of all those weapons and make sure they had them all, which is exactly what happened. And, of course, his superiors knew exactly who was on the details to pick these firearms up. And it wasn't long before they started to ask questions. And so I can say that Buford had several of these M1s. He, when O'Neill took some up to McNairy County to sell, well, Buford had some. So you have that. Buford did take O'Neill up to Jackson, spoke with somebody up there, and helped O'Neill avoid a lot of serious problems with it. He still had to go to court, federal court, and deal with a few things there, but it could have turned out a lot worse for him had it not been for Buford. However, now we know that Buford had some of these firearms. Well, the ambush occurred, and the morning that he was at the Selmer Hospital before being sent to Memphis to the Baptist Hospital, he contacted a friend that had access to Sibley Chevrolet and the garage there. And Buford is said to have told this friend, go there, get in the trunk, remove all my guns, and that's what happened, apparently. And I don't know what happened to all the guns, but I do know that this individual chose to keep a particular gun for himself, and that was an M1 carbine. And he had it there in his possession for years before he passed it along to his son. Now, his son is the one that contacted me. He'd been following my page on Facebook, and he finally decided that I was the real deal, that I was trying to get down to who murdered Pauline. So he contacted me and told me his story about how he got the gun from his dad as his dad got older, and he knew enough about the ambush and Pusser's story to be somewhat suspicious. And he said he had always wondered if that might have been the gun that was used in the ambush. And he wanted to know, so he contacted me. I mean, in turn, I got in my car, I went over there, I photographed it, I took down all the information from the gun, the serial number, so on, and fired it, took some of the spent casings, and we'd set up a situation where we could recover some projectiles, which I have all those over in my safe. And at that point, well, with his permission, I contacted the TBI and gave them the information. And shortly, an agent called and wanted to know more about this gun. So I gave him the information I had and this other individual's contact information, and they made an arrangements with him to pick the gun up, which they did. They've had it ever since. And usually, if it's not connected to the case, they return it to the owner. Hadn't been returned. So, you can read into that what you will. But since it hasn't been returned, I suspect that it most likely was the gun that was used. Now, that's pretty much the story about the gun and how the TBI got it. And while I'm on this subject, I want to give a shout out to everybody. It wasn't just the gun. After they got the gun, they called and wanted to know what other information I might have. And of course, as a lot of you know, I've always used the Facebook page and my YouTube channel as a fishing hole for information. And a lot of people did respond. There was a number of people that called and said, I just know this tiny bit about what occurred during, before, or after the time of the ambush. And so I shared that information with them, and with their permission, I gave their contact information to the TBI. And, I do know that a number of those people were interviewed for their information, so that I'm assuming that the TBI could take statements from them. And so there's a lot of people that contributed to this in one way or another. A lot of people would call and say, I only know this much of the story, just what I saw, what I heard, what I've been told by my parents, who were a number of them acquainted with either Pauline or Buford or both. And I'll go into that at another time. But however, I wanted to give all those people a shout out, because this thing has been a puzzle for me. I pick up one piece here and one piece here, and I keep building on it, and I'm trying to build a better picture of how all this went down. And of course, I know I didn't get everything entirely right, but I think it's as close as we've ever come. And apparently the TBI did, because they kicked in the investigation again, up to the point where they exhumed Pauline, as you know. And a lot of people say, they did it because Mike said so. I don't have that kind of power with the TBI. It was her brother, Pauline's brother, that gave his permission as her sibling to exhume her body and have the autopsy done that was never done in 1967, which was another thing that bothered me. Why would you not do an autopsy on the sheriff's wife when you had done one on Louise Hathcock? I don't know if others close to Buford were involved, but apparently these are just my thoughts, my opinions, nothing else. Don't take this as fact. But I suspect that someone withheld doing the autopsy report either out of friendship to Buford or out of fear of Buford. But there should have been an autopsy done in 1967. Well, we finally got it done, and it showed that she had signs of previous abuse, and that she was shot in the back of the head. Appears to have gone out the top of her head, which matches everything that I've always been told by, like, the county coroner of the time. And he was also the person that had to prepare her for a funeral, because he worked at a funeral home where they took care of Pauline after her death. So now you know something about the gun. I hope it's enough to make people stop and think and look forward to when the TBI does release the report. They are in the process of redacting information from it. And let me be clear, the only thing that they are redacting are personal information about some of these people who stepped forward. And it's done for the purpose of preventing identity fraud. They don't want people getting birth dates, social security numbers, information like that out of the report. But the names still appear. And as you know, many of them are still alive. And that's the whole purpose. They've got a 1,000-page report that they've got to go through, probably more than once, to make sure they've got all that information redacted. And I'll look forward to getting hold of the autopsy, the investigation report, and being able to determine just how closely I came with their results. Because all I've had to work with, and people give me a hard time about this, so be it. They don't know what they're talking about. But I've had to build my investigation, cold case investigation, with information that I've been able to gain from newspaper items, TBI documents prior to 1980, just a number of things which have been sparse. I would find people that I wanted to contact. Many of them have already passed on. So I wanted to get in touch with their relatives. So what did I do? I went to obituary reports to find family members' names so I could trace them down, contact them. There's been a lot of footwork to this, and it's nothing exciting. It gets kind of boring when you're sitting there just trying to find where in this United States that people are now, because not all of them stayed around there. So having told you all this, as soon as they release the report, I'll be out here discussing it again, and probably giving a little more information, because there's a lot I haven't said yet. At any rate, that's it for today. Again, I really appreciate everyone out there who stepped up, contributed information, and it's made a big difference. And that's all I can do is say thank you so much. Oh, and be sure, if you enjoy this page, learning some stuff about the real Pusser story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps keep the page going. So, again, remember, truth has no agenda, and thanks for watching.